And now I would like to call up Kent Wong to introduce our final award tonight. Get your dance shoes ready. But right now, we do have our prestigious President's Award. Kent? Ah, there you are. Hi.
Nice to see you, Parvesh.
Nice to see you, my friend.
What an extraordinary evening, celebrating 31 years of APALA and the incredible individuals and organizations that made this possible. I am so honored to present the President's Award to my good friend, Leonard Hoshijo, one of the founders of the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance, who left us too soon. I first met Leonard 33 years ago when I was traveling around the United States trying to recruit Asian and Pacific American labor activists to help build APALA. And as my good friend Guy Fujimura said, the night we met was a dark and stormy night. I was in Honolulu. I went to the International Longshore and Warehouse Workers Union. It was pouring rain. It was dark. And I laid out my proposal of building a national Asian Pacific American labor organization. And Leonard and Guy were convinced that this Pake boy from the mainland had been out in the sun too long and that I was hallucinating, because they knew the history of U.S. colonialism, they knew the history of U.S. imperialism, and they knew the history of white supremacy within the U.S. labor movement. And yet, as we talked, and as I got to know Leonard and Guy, I learned so much about these two extraordinary men, but the power of the Hawaiian labor movement. And Leonard Hoshijo played a historic role in building the bridge between Asian Americans on the mainland and the Hawaiian labor movement. You see, he went to Antioch College as an undergraduate, and he was radicalized, and he was an Asian American student activist. And he traveled around the country and understood the emerging Asian American movement in the United States that was fighting for justice and liberation. And we learned so much from the Hawaiian labor movement, a movement that was built on the backs of Asian and Pacific Islanders who knew the importance and power of multiracial and multi-ethnic unity. And they had no doubt that, yes, of course, Asian Americans can and should and must provide leadership roles within the labor movement because they were the majority. And for those of us from the mainland who that was such a foreign concept, my God, Asian Americans assuming leadership in the U.S. labor movement, they had made it a reality in Hawaii. Leonard Hoshijo was an activist, an organizer, an educator, and one of the founders of APALA. He was the education and political director of the Carpenters Union, Hawaii Regional Council. In the prior 26 years, he was first the housing representative and then the organizing director of the International Longshore Workers Union, Local 142. He was vice president of the International Union of the ILWU, which was one of the founding unions within APALA. He was the director of the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations for the state of Hawaii. He was the director and officer of the Hawaii Labor Heritage Council. Leonard had a broad network of friends throughout the United States within the Asian American community. He passed away peacefully on October 21st, 2021, surrounded by his family. And we wanted to share with you a beautiful tribute presented by his wife, Renette Kawakami, and their three beautiful daughters, Jennifer, Andy, and Kai. So please join me in watching this video tribute from Leonard Hoshijo's family.
Aloha mai kako. To the Executive Committee and the many members of the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance, APALA, mahalo nui loa for allowing us to appear by video to accept the President's Award on behalf of my late husband, Leonard Paul Hoshijo, together with his daughters, Jennifer, Andy, and Kai, and granddaughters, Maggie and Charlie, who are not here.
Leonard was a steadfast, unwavering advocate for workers and labor unions. Every movement, action, and project he worked on always furthered the cause of workers' rights and the betterment of the lives of everyday people.
We will forever miss him and always remember his strong, positive impact on our community and beyond. From organizing and building affordable housing, campaigning and helping labor-oriented candidates, and even saving the Honolulu Symphony.
He was a partner, husband, and father who loved music, art, wine, and the ocean. He was very committed to family and taught us to be good community members.
Leonard was very modest and would not have wanted excessive attention. However, we think he would have been happy to have received this award, as APALA's mission goes to the very core of Leonard's beliefs and how he lived his life. Mahalo nui loa again, and good night.
We are so fortunate to have with us tonight a former national president of the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance, a man who has dedicated his life to advance the Hawaiian labor movement and worker justice in Hawaii and throughout the world, and a lifelong friend and brother and comrade of Leonard Hoshijo. Please help me welcome my good friend, Guy Fujimura.
Thank you so much. I've been thinking about this happenstance of accepting this award. It's certainly an honor, but it is sad because Leonard is not here to receive it himself. I received a call from Chris West, who's president of the IOW Local 142. He says, hey, he's on the board. He has the IOW seat. He says, hey, they're honoring Leonard at the APALA Convention. You want to go? Yeah, sure, why not? They're great. You know, I think it's a great thing that Leonard's being honored. And thank you. How come you guys not going? He said, well, you know, we got to go to the National Executive Board, E-Board in Canada. So that's where the leadership went to. And I came here and I got to, and then when I got here, I found out that I would be accepting this award for Leonard. And I've been asking Sandra, and I've been in contact with Ronnie about what I should be saying. And essentially, I guess a description or to try to let people know the other Leonard. Kent went over his major accomplishments as a labor leader, and later on as the part of the state government, as the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations in Hawaii. But who is Leonard? Who was Leonard? I may break into Pidgin, which is the local vernacular in Hawaii, because it's much easier to tell some of these stories. But Leonard liked to say that his mother was a direct descendant of Oda Nobunaga, the first shogun unifying Japan. And Ronnie tells me that when Leonard told her that the mother was a direct descendant of Oda Nobunaga, she said, well, that explains it all. Leonard's dad, on the other hand, was from Okinawa, and I think that his family was farmers, maybe potato farmers. Leonard's mom was from Portland, and she was incarcerated at Minidoka during the World War II, and Leonard's dad was in 442, which kind of like encompasses Japanese American history and experience during that period. Leonard, a few years ago, joined with the Hawaii Hiroshima sister state prefecture friendship tour, and then subsequent to that official event, he went to find his family in Hiroshima on the Nobunaga side, and then he went to Okinawa to find his family on the Okinawan side. And I asked Ronnie about that, and he said, well, you know, you remember that Leonard had a degree in history. What? History? Yes. He went to Antioch, by the way, Leonard. I was just talking to Kent about that. I said, yeah, it seems to me when Leonard described going to Antioch, he got credit for not going to school because it was one of these nouveau education kind of places. And what Kent described, Leonard would travel around, get involved in different things, and then get credit for it, graduated a degree in history. He came back to Hawaii, and he went to get a fifth-year certificate, teaching certificate, so that he would be able to, and he was exposed to teaching in a classroom. And then he took that knowledge and he tried to apply it to IOW education to the members. Later on, he was instructing, an instructor in ethnic studies at the University of Hawaii. And he was kind of expelled in a two-line struggle, and he was on the losing side of that. I'm going to be using some vernacular that maybe a lot of people have not used, but essentially it's like two opposing thoughts about how things should be. And later on, Leonard told me, I was planning to leave, but because they challenged what I believed in, I had to stay and fight, which is Leonard. I was thinking, I was talking to my wife about this story, but he went to work for the IOW 142 before I did. So by the time I got on, he had been there maybe a year or so, maybe a little bit more. We had an international convention in Hawaii, and Gene Viernes and Selmy Domingo from Camry Worker Local 37 introduced a resolution regarding the Philippines. And they wanted to send a delegation from the IOW to examine and study labor conditions in the Philippines under the Marcos regime. It was of great concern to the local, and there was a steering committee meeting, and I guess this is not known in history because this was a private meeting of the union, and the leadership was there from all the islands and the divisions and the top local officers and the staff, the senior staff. I don't know why they let me in because I was doing logistics at that time, but I got to sit in. And there was debate about what the local should do. At that time, the local, my local, 142, had half the votes in the convention. You know, so whatever we decide to do, and also because it was a Filipino issue in the Philippines, everybody's going to defer to our local, right? Because a lot of Filipinos in the local. Our president was Filipino. Our vice president was Filipino. So in the steering committee, there was principled argument. The main concern, and in the rank and file, there were leaders who had connections to the Marcos regime. So the concern was this issue would split the membership. That if we took a position, it would split the membership. And that's one of the principles that most unions have, is you don't want to split the membership. You want a unified front. Leonard was one of those principled argument, coming back, arguing once again. People leave the meeting, they're so mad that nothing's happening. Leonard was there, persistent, tenacious, continued to argue. He was not, I don't want to imply that he was the guy that carried the day, but he was one of the guys that made it happen. Carl Damaso, when the convention convened, got up as the president of Local 142 and supported the resolution. It passed. It was unexpected, I think, with Gene and Silmi, but it was something that, it was an example where I saw Leonard arguing from a principled point of view and showing how tenacious he could be when it was that we had to do the right thing. He just would be very tenacious. He is tenacious in organizing. He is tenacious in terms of winning organizing drives. He, some people say that Leonard kind of has a stoic kind of personality, you know, like I used to tell him that my joking around about him made him look good, made him look like he had a personality and had a sense of humor. I don't think he appreciated that. But in organizing, he started out as a field organizer. When I got on board to organize, he took me around because he had about a year's experience on me. We went house to house. We were in parking lots, surprising workers, asking them to sign a consent card. And, you know, he would do his assignment. He would take me out. We would visit homes, see the workers, explain the advantages of IOW unionism. And Leonard would do that work. He would do the footwork. But where Leonard excelled was organizing the organizers, strategically organizing, running large organizing drives, running large cross-check elections. That's another vernacular, right? Cross-check elections. And for many, many years, he was the director of the organizing in RW Local 142. So that we organized thousands of new workers, mainly in new hotel resorts coming up. I remember once he asked me to find somebody to do a card check. I went to ask a former justice of the Supreme Court, friend of ours, if he would do it. Of course, when we told the company this guy is a former justice of the Supreme Court and the former director of Department of Labor, the company couldn't reject him, so he did the card check. So we had, the unit would have been about 1,200 members, and Leonard sat there and he had files, boxes, you know, of signed consent cards, alphabetically oriented. And Mario would call a name, Leonard look in his box, pulls a card out. The organizers had done a superb job in reaching almost everyone to agree to support the IOW. It was voting by consent card. And, but Leonard was the one that had the whole thing organized, and he knew how many people were already in each of those departments, and he knew we had the vote. He was that good. I was just in contact with Ronnie, and she told me that people don't realize how sentimental he was. And one of the things he saved was documents and photographs of all the organizing drives he had been involved in. And when he became vice president of the union, he continued to build organizing in Hawaii and on the mainland. It was to the point, as Kent referred, that when APALA was formed, IOW was recognized as one of the 11 organizing unions, and we got a seat at the table on the executive board, International Union. I credit Leonard for that. He was a man that I think he loved the union, but he also loved sports. He loved diving. He loved the ocean. Whenever we got the tidal calendars, make sure that he got one. He was a guy that really made a difference in the beginning of the union. I don't know how Leonard or how Kent figured out how to contact Leonard and who Leonard was or whatever, but yes, it was a dark and stormy night. Kent came in the office like he was like coming out of the storm, you know. And we sat down and we explained to him why this APALA thing would not work. And we were very happy in Hawaii, and we didn't necessarily want to mess with these mainland crazy guys. So, you know, like Kent was on the Kellogg's grant at that time. So Leonard's that kind of guy. He would be there doing what had to be done when it was needed to be done. But he's not necessarily going to be around all the time. He was not involved with APALA except being in the background until later. So he was not at the steering committee. He was not when we convened the three organizations from LA, Apple, Afun, New York, and San Francisco, and the Hawaii State AFL-CIO from Hawaii. You know, Leonard wasn't there. We actually convened in the Samuel Gompers room of the AFL-CIO, and with his picture looking down at everybody, and I could see all the Chinese guys, you know, Kent and Pat Lee and Alex Hing, and they all want to say it, right? Gompers was a racist. He was an exclusionist. He didn't want Asians in the union. But we were in that room, we were in the house, APALA was born. That is directly related to Leonard bringing Kent into the IOW and planting that seed for APALA. When they were about to form, I think Kent said, hey, there's a lot of Asians, trade union guys in Hawaii. Why don't we invite them? But guess what? It was the whole Hawaii State AFL that was Asian Pacific. So we came with a certain chip on our shoulder and united with everybody to form APALA. The 1 year of steering committee work, and then the founding convention in Washington, D.C. I remember that when we were in the meeting with Russell Carter, they were toying with what name to call this organization, and they were throwing out different organization of Pacific Asian labor activists. I turned to Russell, I said, that is APALA, which is rubbish in Hawaiian, and we rejected that name. Leonard circles back later on to sit on the board of APALA. He, in organizing, is the guy that when we were running into trouble, like when KKR, subsidy KSL, buys Grand Wailea Hotel, fires all the workers, makes everybody reapply for the job, gives us a hard time in bargaining. Leonard went and found a corporate campaign for us out of the University of Oregon, Eugene, and these guys figured out that KKR gets its capital from public pension funds. So effectively, we followed them to all the meetings to inform the public pension fund that these guys were union busters. And they came to the table, they settled. Leonard is the guy that did that. He just came up to me one day and said, I got an idea. Okay, let's go. I don't want to keep on rambling. I was told I should not. Yeah. He talking to Ronnie, he was very close to his daughters. Oh, by the way, Ronnie couldn't be here. She's receiving an award from her alumni association from her high school as one of the outstanding alumnus from Lelihua. So she couldn't be here tonight. And so, like I said, in communication with her about this thing. His eldest daughter, Jennifer, is the co-director of the Hawaii Manoa Heritage Council, which is the estate of Sam and Mary Cook, and they have preserved the heiau up there, replanting native plants, and that's what she does. That's what Jennifer does. Andy is an IT specialist with a bank, but she volunteers with Honu, a group that trains young people to get into tech. And Andy is a navigator on the Hokulea. He loved his daughters, he loved his family. So on behalf of Ronnie, Jennifer, Andy, Kai, his brother Bill and his family, sister Kathy, on behalf of the IOW, on behalf of the Carpenters Union, thank you for the President's Award to Leonard Hoshijo.
Thank you, guys.
Take one quick photo.
You in the middle, quick photo.